Hi, and welcome to the Word of the Week. This week's word is review. Now, as we are on our journey towards improvement in whatever area it is in our life, the process of review is an important thing. You see, we learn new things, but we often need to go back and review that material. Now, in teaching martial arts, we have our times of learning new stuff, and then we have our time of, okay, let's look back at what we've already learned. Let's review what we've done. Sometimes we do it in the context of a singular class, reviewing the lessons we've learned in that class. Sometimes it's, during the course of a long term of study, we'll say, okay, well, let's just spend time reviewing all the information we've learned to this point so that we can kind of get it more embedded, and then we have a better foundation to move forward with. So in any aspect of learning, this review portion is a very important thing. It's something that often we don't like to do, going back and looking at old material. So one of my teachers had a saying she liked to use, that you study the old lesson, you gain new knowledge, right? So the act of going back, reviewing what you have already learned, allows you to look at it from a different perspective, because if it's something that you've learned a year ago and you look at it now, you have hopefully one more year's worth of experience and knowledge at which you can look at this previous lesson, and it will give you some new insights. You'll be able to pick up some things that maybe you weren't ready to pick up at that point. Also, in the process of doing anything, it's impossible for us to pay attention to all the details. So the process of review, let's say you're reviewing a project that you were working on. If you go back and you look at all the things that you did, all the steps that you took, maybe you will find some things that you missed, some things that you could do better the next time. So our ability to look into the past helps us with laying that foundation so that we can have better performance in the future. However, if all we do is review and never take those steps to gaining new knowledge or applying that old knowledge into our current situation, then we kind of get stuck, and we're on half of that yin-yang cycle, right? We have to have both. We have to have new information, but we also have to review the things that we've already learned. And one last thought I'd like to give about reviewing. I know from a learning perspective, one of the best times to review things is right before you go to bed. So whether you're learning a new form, or whether you're learning to speak a new language, or you're working on some sort of problem, reviewing it right before you go to bed, going through it before you go to bed, kind of the last thing you do, is a great way of getting it into your mind, getting it into your subconscious so that it can be processed during the course of the night. So this is a great way to learn. Now, the flip side to that is, I want you to think about, what are the things you review the last thing before you go to bed. Right? See, a lot of times what we do is we focus on all the negatives. And I'm not saying that you only think about the good things that occur in your life, but a lot of times we get so concerned with the mistakes we make and looking at them in a negative way, that they begin to play in our mind and play in our mind and play in our mind all night long. So we have to be careful that when we are reviewing things, review it from more of a neutral perspective. Don't look at the things that you've done and that have gone wrong, because those are really the things, you want to have that balance. You want to look at the things that went really well. Wow, I want to keep doing that. The things that didn't go so well, wow, I want to change how I did that to make that a little bit better. But do it from the sort of neutral, emotional perspective, not, wow, I really messed up and I feel horrible and I'm such a goof and I can't do anything right. Because if you go into it with that negative emotional context and you're reviewing it in your mind, you're playing it over and over in your mind, then you're helping to reinforce those negative feelings about yourself. So review, but review from this somewhat emotionally detached way of just saying, okay, what worked? Keep doing it. What didn't work, let's change that, and then make your application from there. But remember, the things that you think about last thing at night, the last thing you review during the course of the day, that's the thing that's going to stick with you, and it's going to be with you when you wake up in the morning. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson, and I hope to see you next week.